Today we are going to be walking you through how to assemble an immersion kit for an S19 version miner. Okay, so first we need to get our orientations correct. When I talk about the front of the miner, I'm going to be referring to this side of the miner with the faceplate as well as the plugs. This is the right side. This will be the left side. This will be the top and the back. What you're going to need to do first is to unscrew the two screws from the faceplate of the miner, located right here. And you just take this out. Next, we'll be going to the back and unscrewing this screw right here. Then we press this button here and pop the cover off. And we can set this aside and you can save your screws. So next, we're going to need to take this cover off, and the two screws for that are located on the back right here. And then this, you slide. It has these hooks on it. You just slide it back and then pull it off. The next step is going to be to take our control card off. And it's easiest to go from this way to this way rather than vice versa. This kind of opens up your space for you. All you do is pull the clip and wiggle it out of there. And be careful not to break the plastic on these ribbon cables because they can be delicate. Then undo the fans. And it's easiest to get these out of here just by wiggling them. Okay, then we can set this aside. The next step will be to take the fans off of the miner. And there are 8 screws per fan in every corner on both sides. We set those aside. Okay, next step is going to be to remove the power supply off of the miner. And what is holding it on is there's one screw here and then the 4 bus bar screws. Once you removed all those screws, you can just slide the power supply right off. And then we're going to be removing the rest of the screws on the bus bars because they need to come off. Okay, so at this point we have our miner pretty much fully torn down, and we will be now adding parts of our immersion kit. So here you can see all the parts that are included in our immersion kit. You get an extension cable, 2 new bus bars, 2 bus bar spacers, screws to attach the handle and bus bars, the handle. So for the next step, first we'll be attaching the miner handle, and it is easiest to do so by standing it up. It's also important to note that now I will be referring to this as the front of the miner, the side with the ribbon cables. This is the top, right side, left side, back, bottom. So on the top of the miner, on the left-hand side, we will be attaching the miner handle into these 3 screw holes where the fans previously were. The 3 screws that you're going to need for this are going to be the M4 6mm. And you just attach it like so. And I recommend not screwing anything in all the way until you have all screws in place. And then once that has happened, you can kind of move it to where you want and then tighten the screws down. Okay, so everything looks good here, so I'm going to go ahead and tighten it down. So next, we're going to take the power supply, its previous orientation, and we're going to flip it this way. So from the front, you will have the 2 terminals here and the 2 power plugs here, and it's going to sit on the miner like so. In order to attach it, we will need to remove the fan screws, and you will need to remove the first 5, starting from the terminal side. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, using the 5 fan screws that we just removed, we will be attaching the power supply onto the miner handle. The easiest way to do this is to take your miner and flip it on its side like so. Then you take these holes of the fans and line them up with each hole under this. Take your fan screw and you line up to where the holes are, and you screw the fan screws back in to the original place through the miner handle. And this will hold the power supply to the handle. And also, I recommend not tightening down all the way until you have all of them in place, and this just ensures that everything lines up correctly. It should look something like this when you're done. Once we've attached our handle and our power supply, then we are going to be placing our miner like so. And we will be attaching the bus bars here. So first, you're going to be placing the 2 spacers. There's a small hole and there's a large hole that go over top of this, and this is to ensure that the 2 power bars will not come in contact with each other once it's been fully assembled. So to start off, you'll be taking either one, it doesn't matter which side you attach first, your 16mm and your 14mm. 16mm will be going on the bottom, and 14mm will be going up top. And that's for an M4 screw. This step is really important not to tighten any screw down all the way before you have everything in place. And do not use any power tools, only hand tightening with a screwdriver. So now that we have everything in place, we can start to put every screw in and kind of adjust it to where we want it, and then tighten everything down. So it's important to make sure that neither one of your bus bars are touching each other, and to make sure that the spacers have contact with the terminals and nothing else. So this is the reasoning to not tighten anything down, because you can still adjust. So once you have them in place, I find it's easier to do the inner bus bar first. Once you have it lined up, you can just tighten down the outside screws. And that is now solidly in place, and then you can tighten down every other screw. And then next the outer. There we go, something like that. And we tighten them down. So the last iteration of a control card holder that we will have is one that simulates the slots that are on the outside of the miner's chassis, where the control card usually slides into place here. We have simulated that with these slots, and this will mount onto your miner handle on either side. One thing to keep note is it does not matter which side you mount it on, whether it be front or back. The one thing that you have to make sure is that these cables will still reach into the hash boards. So a lot of times it is easier just to put it on the front, and it's not going to make a difference in the long run. You can begin by taking your screw and putting it through the top slot on your card holder and sliding it through the rails on the miner handle. Then you can take your screw or your nut and put it onto your screw. And I'm not going to tighten these down all the way until every single one of them is in place. Now that I have all the screws in place, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start tightening them down, and I'm going to try to make sure that these stay level so that they are at the same height. I'm still not screwing these in completely. I still want them to be manageable. So that way I know how far to separate them to make it where the control card can fit in between the two, in case I need this out farther or in further. So now that we have our control card mounts mounted, we can slide it right into place. One thing to make note of is to have them at the current distance apart so that it's not too loose. It fits nice and snug and you can go in and out. So next you're going to want to attach your bus bar covers, and it's going to go something like this. The two screw holes for this are on the top of your miner, and one of them is going to be the screw hole for your miner handle, and the other is going to be an empty screw hole slot. So you can start by unscrewing the very front screw that is holding your miner handle on. And these are going to be two M4 6mm screws. And your bus bar cover should just fit perfectly, something like that. And you take the screws and you just screw them into place.